Let me tell you how this is gonna work. I'm gonna ask you one question. You are gonna answer that question in a way I find satisfactory, and if you do not, I will saw your head off with this here appliance, you hear me? So here it comes.
I'm a fan of first-person shooters, but I'm an even bigger fan of good alternate history stories. So when I heard that Wolfenstein: The New Order would be a heavily story-driven alternate history game with balls-to-the-walls action, I got excited, but questioned whether or not it would actually pull it off in the end. Wolfenstein: The New Order did in fact have an over-the-top story, but that is exactly what it was trying to achieve. It's not just trying to show you what it would be like if the Nazis won the war. Instead, it tries to make it fun by imagining what it would be like if they had giant robot guard dogs, Star Wars-like robots, and exoskeleton suits during the 1940s, 50s, and 60s. And boy, does it accomplish what it set out to do. For some reason, I thought Wolfenstein was going to be funny. Instead, I found out that it was a very serious game, to the point that it was actually really touching during some scenes. You play as Blasco, an American soldier who gets injured in World War II and ends up in a vegetative state for 14 years. During that time, the Nazis won the war and are now in control of the entire world, more or less. After slowly regaining consciousness and motor skills, he gets up just in time to save a young nurse who has been taking care of him for the last decade. This is where the real game begins. The rest of the story is about Blasco finding the resistance group and fighting back against the Nazi tyrannical rule and their sci-fi weaponry. I found myself caring far more for characters than I thought I would. I believe that machine games achieve this because of their storytelling techniques. It's not your typical first-person shooter, where the story is told in 2-minute cutscenes between each mission. Wolfenstein had cutscenes before, during, and after each mission, and there was almost always a familiar voice on the other end of a radio during each mission as well. The story may have been a little crazy at times, but it was so fun that it was worth it. Wolfenstein: The New Order looked absolutely fantastic on PlayStation 4, most of the time. Character models, views from a distance, and important objects like robots were beautiful on screen. That being said, machine games really took the easy way out with just about everything else. Textures for insignificant objects in the game were either 2D or just not up to date with what you would expect on a current generation console. It is easy to look past because, like I said, it only happens on insignificant stuff, but in the end, it's silly that we still have things like this. As good as the story is, the gameplay is even better. It starts off as a typical first-person shooter to get your feet wet, but slowly introduces you to the different ways to play the game, such as dual-wielding heavy machine guns or using stealth abilities. If all you care about is a tightly controlled first-person shooter, then you found your game. However, it can be much more than that if you give it a chance. I love destroying everything in my path with machine guns for one level, and then trying to go through the entire next level undetected using only my throwing knives as weapons. And what makes this even more fun is that you have 4 sets of challenges to unlock depending on your style of play. Each set will unlock new perks that will apply to your character, such as increasing your clip capacity or the ability to throw knives. Honestly, I found this to be the most fun aspect of the game because it gave me something else to work on during each level. But even with all the great things Wolfenstein does, there are still a few hiccups. Glitches are a part of every game, but I haven't had a problem with them in years it feels like. I ran into several glitches in Wolfenstein during my 15-hour playthrough. One time I got stuck on a loading screen that just never ended, and another time I got stuck on a piece of wood sticking out of the middle of the map and could no longer move. The other issue I had is that the checkpoint system is by far the worst I've seen in a game in the last half-decade or so. This may have been done to appeal to the older generation of gamers who grew up with this design technique, but we live in a time when games autosave just about every 30 seconds. When you die in Wolfenstein, more often than not you will have to restart 5 to 10 minutes before your death, and sometimes even further depending on how you approach that level. This is not really a problem because it doesn't break the game by any means, but damn it sure is annoying to lose all the progress you made each time you die.
Hello? I've seen you before. Oh, I like you. Such a resilient specimen. With you I could do great things.
If you like first-person shooters and can handle a little over-the-top storytelling, this is a game for you. When I compare the amount of fun I have had with first-person shooters on PlayStation 4, Wolfenstein: The New Order stands far above the rest. Sure, it doesn't have multiplayer, but that shouldn't hinder your experience. The textures can be an issue if you're a stickler for that kind of thing, and the glitches and checkpoints can be extremely annoying from time to time. But overall, The New Order has a fun and engaging storyline with even better gameplay. Even if the lack of multiplayer is a problem for you, this is a game I encourage you not to skip. Wolfenstein: The New Order is a solid first-person shooter. Find a way to play it. For the full written review and all video game news, be sure and check out middleofnowheregaming.com.